What's going on, Muscle Monsters? Alain Gonzalez here, and before we get into today's video, I just want to make a quick announcement. I wanted to let you guys know here on YouTube that I've recently released the Muscle Monsters podcast. And if you don't use an iPhone or iTunes, then I'm going to leave a link in the description where you can go and subscribe using Android. Just make sure that you download one of the podcast apps. And if you just want to subscribe via email, then I'll leave a link for that as well. All right, and the reason I created this podcast is because I know a lot of the time people are, too busy to watch videos or too busy to read my articles. So I figured I'll give you the option to download the audio and listen to it while you're doing your cardio or while you're driving to work or whatever the case may be. So again, I'm going to leave the link for the podcast down below, or the links rather, and without further ado, I'm going to let you guys listen to the first episode of what is the Muscle Monsters podcast. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
They try to rid us and get up in our way. I ain't gon' quit. Won't let you live up to your dreams. That stops today. I ain't gon' quit. Want you to give up, but no matter what they say, I ain't gon' quit. We keep on. We keep on. We keep on. Keep on.
What's going on, everybody? Alain Gonzalez here, and welcome to the Muscle Monsters Train Hard, Eat Big, Get Jacked podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about flexible dieting and how it works. Now, I notice a lot online that there's two schools of thought that have it completely messed up. The first school of thought is it comes from the old school bodybuilders who think that you have to quote unquote eat clean and avoid quote unquote unhealthy foods if you want to maximize your results and your health. On the other end of the spectrum, there's the young impressionable guys who think that that if it fits your macros is about fitting in as much junk food into your diet as long as you're hitting that macronutrient distribution. All right. They're both wrong, and mainly because they don't really understand how flexible dieting works. All right. With flexible dieting, there are some very serious requirements, and if you're not meeting those requirements, you're not maximizing your potential, and you're not maximizing your health. All right. So I'll give you an analogy to make it a little bit easier to understand how flexible dieting, or if it fits your macros, really works. Okay, let's say you had $2,000 in a bank account and you absolutely had to spend it, but you had some obligations that you had to pay first. So for example, maybe you have to pay your mortgage, and that's $1,000. All right, so now you're left with $1,000 because you just had to spend another $1,000 on your mortgage, which again is an obligation. All right, you have $1,000 left now, and your car payment is due, and that's $500. So you pay another $500 towards obligations. All right, now your obligations are paid for, so you have $500 to kind of spend on the things that you like, right? So let's say those things are shoes, clothes, and video games. Well, now you have to distribute that $500 into those three things. All right, but it has to be distributed a certain way. So for example, maybe you have to spend $200 on video games, you have to spend $200 on clothes, and then you have to spend just $100 on shoes. That's pretty much how flexible dieting works, right? You have those obligations, those vitamins, minerals, the fiber that you absolutely must hit if you want to maximize your health. And then once you've hit those requirements, then you have a little bit of wiggle room to probably include some of the foods that you enjoy that are not necessarily nutrient dense. And the reason you're able to do this is pretty simple. our body has a specific amount of certain vitamins and minerals and fiber that it needs. And going over those requirements doesn't necessarily yield more health or better results, right? So that's why once we've hit those numbers, it's okay to, again, include foods that are not so nutrient dense without having to worry about, being unhealthy or getting sick or whatever the case may be. So if you are doing flexible dieting, or if it fits your macros correctly, then you're going to notice that you are pretty much forced to eat 80 to 90% whole, minimally processed foods, and then you're left with about 10 or 20% to kind of just throw in the foods that you enjoy. All right? Now, I also want to talk about the big problem with quote-unquote eating clean. A lot of the time, people get on extremely restrictive diets, especially when they're on meal plans. And what this tends to do is, number one, it doesn't take into account your macronutrient distribution. So that's already a red flag in and of itself. But more than that, when you're eating the same exact foods every single day and your diet is extremely restrictive, then your chances of being deficient in certain vitamins and minerals is more likely. So the idea of just eating clean and having a restrictive diet is not only not sustainable, but it's in the long term probably not going to be the healthiest option. All right? So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you found that helpful. I hope that you understand flexible dieting a little better. In the next episode, I want to talk about very specific numbers. We're going to talk about how to find out your macronutrient intake, how to distribute it, and so on and so forth. So stay tuned for that. Now, I do have some resources for you over at musclemonsters.com/EP1. That's musclemonsters.com/EP and the number 1. I'm going to give you a free guide that you can download. It's called 21 Day Fast Abs, and it's for getting an event-ready body quick if you are on a time constraint without starving yourself, without any extreme dieting. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.